Wait, it's not that deep.
Maybe later. I'll let you guys do your thing.
Oh, yes, Neil. Yes.
Okay. I'll be up there.
Bye, Sam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You really did a number here.
Let me tell you what I did.
Thank you.
All right, let me tell you what it is. That's a sunshine muffin on the top left. Lemon, lime, and orange with a lemon glaze. Oatmeal cherry cookie, chocolate chunk cookie, mixed berry scone, and what's under the cookie?
Scone.
And an herb goat cheese scone.
I wanted, because I feel like we've tried to link up a couple times to do this and then shit gets in the way, or it's typically been my fault that we don't get together. And I'm okay owning up to that.
No hard feelings. I really don't care that much. I mean, you invited me to do a podcast, and I told you when I was available, and then a few things changed, but it wasn't like that was my only gig.
No, because you have a lot of gigs.
Yeah, and I have a lot of things going on, but I'm excited to be here and excited to do this. It's fun.
This is fun. So guys, for everyone that can't see, which is everyone, we have a view on Orchard Street.
Yep.
I have never actually, I used to go out on Orchard Street a lot. Like the Lower East Side is my kingdom.
Totally.
Would you go out? Because you used to live in the city. Actually, Neil, can I do something really quick?
Sure.
I want to introduce you.
Okay.
And I want to tell everyone how we met.
Okay.
Because it's pretty unique.
Yep.
And it's not sugarbabies.com. It is...
I don't know what that is. But it's probably a dating site
Basically.
for younger women and old men, old Jewish men.
Exactly.
Your father's age.
Only old Jewish men.
All right.
So, Neil, I was at a Yankees game with my friends, and all of a sudden I look over and I see this older gentleman forcing his phone in my friend's face. And I immediately am like, what's going on here? Because this is crazy energy. I didn't know if you were a creep. I didn't know what you were doing. And then I listen in because I'm nosy. And I understand that you're talking about Clinton Street Baking Company. And we end up finding out, well, you end up telling us quite willingly that you're the owner.
Unashamedly.
No shame. We don't have shame.
Right.
We don't have shame.
Yeah.
That you're the owner, head chef, and founder of Clinton Street Baking Company.
It's true.
Your energy that day, like, it's the same energy that you carry with you every day, but at a Yankees game, I felt that people were getting annoyed at us. And that's when I was like, this demo is my favorite type of demo.
Okay. You know what's funny about that? That's your take on how it kind of happened. But I'm always also very observant of people around me because of my wife and my daughter. They'll like see people. I know that person from this. I know here, that, Orchard Street. Oh, that person over there, they work at the whatever. So I'm very aware of my surroundings. And I heard one of your friends say something about Clinton Street on the Lower East Side.
Oh, no way.
And so I said to whoever was in front of me, did you just say Clinton Street on the Lower East Side? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, I'm the chef and owner, Neil Kleinberg from Clinton Street Baking Company. And then everyone was like, shut the fuck up. And that's, I'm always promoting our restaurant. I'm always promoting Clinton Street. I'm always kind of... I'm curious to know if people know it. And of course they know it. And everyone has either been there or never been in or say they can't get in and because it's been like almost 25 years. And I like that. And it's nice. And then I befriend someone and I say, you've never been? What's the matter with you? Like I've been to every iconic great restaurant in New York because I'm a chef and I love food and I love people and I love the whole thing. So if someone says to me, have you ever been to Peter Luger's? I'm like, are you kidding? So that's who I am. And I get shit for it sometimes from my daughter, like, Dad, don't, or enough. And then they say Ev, and that's my brother, who's like 10 times more annoying than me.
I don't believe it.
Yep.
Older or younger?
Older. He's 6 years older. And so when I get a little too schmaltzy or too engaged or too excited about what I'm talking about or telling people who I am and what I do, they call me Ev.
Which is the ultimate insult.
Yeah, but my brother heard one of my things that I did on TV, and I said something like my annoying brother Evan in LA, and he got really insulted. And he said, "How could you do that to me, bro? Why would you say that I'm annoying?" And I'm like, "Ev, you're annoying, but I love you, and you're my brother."
Do you think being annoying is like, because I was called annoying a lot of my life, do you think being called annoying is like really that offensive? Because you mean it with love. If you really thought someone was annoying, you'd be like, not name dropping, right?
It's offensive to me when someone says I'm annoying. I try not to be, and I try not, like I can take a hint, and I know most of the time to be quiet.
I think that it's so like in our Jewish blood to just be, I don't even want to say annoying. I just think being out there and being not afraid to make connections. It's called Jewish geography for a reason.
Right.
We're learning about all these different people that we know because we're not afraid to talk to people. There's no such thing as Christian geography. Why? Because Christians aren't going up to people like, do you know this person from Jesus camp? That would never happen.
Right. No, totally. I learned something from Dee Dee, my wife, my partner, and she's always kind of coaching me on how to speak and what to do and how to say it and make sure you don't say something off color. I got bitch slapped the other night at Christmas Day for saying something off color to a friend about the duck at the Peking Duck restaurant.
Okay, because obviously you're out for Chinese.
Yeah. After Christmas Day. So I made a comment, and Jade looked at me and rolled her eyes, and Dee Dee looked at me, and I'm like, enough, honey. And so I stopped, and then I got it the next day. Someone was offended. I made an off-color joke. It was inappropriate, and I apologized. I said, I'm sorry. I thought it was funny at the time, but I realized that the culture and the age of the people around me were very sensitive to a gay joke, a Jewish joke, a this joke, a young person, any kind of reference like that.
Yeah, I think also different senses of humor appeal. Obviously, this is like not a Shakespearean thought, but like
Right.
different senses of humor are appealing to different people. Also, I could think something is so funny when I'm in a good mood, and then when I'm in a bad mood, I'm like, I'm going to cancel you,
Yeah.
It just depends.
I know. I think it's also the way you say it sometimes, and like that guy we met in the hallway just now, he was giving a little too much info, and it was a little cringy,
Yeah.
and I could, I wasn't offended or annoyed or anything, but I put myself in that position saying, you know what, I wouldn't have disclosed that to someone that I just met a second ago.
This guy just started talking to us about how many people he's had sex with from a diner that Neil used to work at. Neil is very connected. That's the thing. He's interconnected. What are the odds? But he's talking about like really having sex. And I kind of walked away. And what I liked about how you handled that situation was me knowing you, I could tell that you were not overindulging in the conversation, but you also weren't making him feel bad.
Correct. And the funny thing is that in New York, our lives, so many years have passed, and I actually knew that person who he's talking about. He died of AIDS, when everyone was dying of AIDS in the 80s and stuff. And I knew Teddy. I worked with him, and it was, it was like a little crass.
It was a little crass, but that's called being self-aware, where like you would never be in that situation of sharing the information about someone that you really respect and care about.
Right.
Everyone is not entitled to that same.
Yeah, I think people my age or people, in my generation, have less of a filter, you know?
When does
Like-
that happen?
It happens like at 62 to 65. All of a sudden, I feel very. All of a sudden, I feel very emotional, sentimental, nostalgic, and I kind of go back to like who I was in my 20s or 30s or even teens, growing up in Brooklyn, growing up with the cast of characters that I grew up with, my cousins, friends, girlfriends, relatives, uncles, aunts, parents. So
Are you-
I started to hit me at like 62, 63, 64, now I'm 66, and I'm more aware of it now, and I think I'm better behaved.
Very interesting. Because I always wonder, I feel like, and I don't know if this is relatable to you, I feel like my frontal lobe is forming right now. Do you remember when your frontal lobe formed?
No, I was in the age and stage you're in, I was in a very intense stage. I was doing a lot of drugs. I was having a lot of sex. I was working 24/7 in the kitchens. I was in a very
A manic phase.
whirlwind phase of like career combined with social, combined with friends, combined with finding out who I was, like all of it. So I don't really think I had a conscious frontal lobe. What the fuck? I don't know.
The reason I ask is because I just feel like I'm in this phase where like things are clicking for me, but I know that it's gonna keep clicking for the rest of my life. And so I'm wondering when the time where I'm not gonna like care and where I'm just gonna start losing a filter. Because like my grandparents have no fucking filter.
Right.
My parents, my mom does, my dad kind of does. I feel like he's like you. I kind of draw similarities between the two of you a lot. And I think, he's 64.
Right.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Like he's right at that sweet spot
Yeah.
where it's like two roads diverge into yellow wood. Like, are you going to say the offensive thing or are you going to keep your mouth shut?
Yep.
But like, it makes
And
life fun.
Depending on the mood you're in.
Exactly.
You
exactly.
say something. Like at Chinese the other night, Christmas Day. I just couldn't help myself. And I had a drink. And I don't drink a lot.
What'd you drink?
A Mai Tai. I love Mai Tais.
What's that?
My wife
Malibu
makes
rum?
fun- Yeah, it's Malibu rum, pineapple juice, grenadine on the rocks. It's so delicious. I like fruity drinks, and a lot of people make fun of me for ordering a cranberry, a tequila sunrise, or I like drinks with certain alcohols with citrus and fruit and not overly sweet, but I like that.
Well, the
I'm
mix
not-
of
I'm not a straight neat guy like, my brother-in-law, like scotch neat and, certain ways to drink and how to drink. I'm not like I can't drink things straight.
the Malibu rum and grenadine has my 16-year-old self salivating.
Totally.
Like that is what, like at like a family party, my dad would be like, "What can I make you?
Yeah.
I want you to make me something with coconut,
Yeah.
pineapple,
Yeah.
and maraschino cherries."
Of course.
Can I tell you something?
What? That's a pina colada.
Yeah, it's also a severe hangover.
I don't drink that much, so it's like one or two of those and I've had enough. And I get like the sweetness and all that sugar is not that great when mixing food. But, I'll also take a beer or I'll also take something on the rocks or a Negroni, which I like because I like the bitter. I like the aperitif kind of thing in alcohol, like where it opens up your appetite because I really only care about food.
Well, that brings me back to really like why we're here today.
Okay.
And I want to talk to you more about like Clinton Street Baking Company, but also your history of food and your love for food, because as interesting as your past is, also you operating the way that you do now, not losing your personality, maintaining that spunk, but also running, I would say, the most popular brunch spot in New York City.
Thank you.
And they have an Outpost people.
Thank you.
I want to understand, like, would your 25-year-old self believe that you're here today?
Yes and no. When I was 22, I opened my first restaurant with my best friend partner, John Simon. It was the hit of the city called Simon's. John Simon was my best friend. We graduated culinary school together, and we opened this place. It was a tiny hole in the wall down the stairs on the Upper West Side. So at 22, I had ambition, I had talent, I had a great friend and partner, and it was unheard of. You know, like people said, like at 22, you're opening your own restaurant, you don't even have an experience to wipe your ass, you know? So that was very young success, but it was short-lived. It only lasted a few years until we blew all the money and, you know, ran it poorly and stuff. And then years later, go ahead.
What was his role versus what was your role?
We were both chefs, but John was more of a front of the house guy. He had an amazing style. He was like the David Bowie of restaurants. He was very handsome, total opposite of me. He was blonde, chiseled features, Jewish, Upper East Side. His mom was like a famous clothing designer. His sister was like, and I'm this middle-class kid from Brooklyn who graduated culinary with him. And one of my favorite stories is we were in cooking class together, and John was always late, and I was always early because I wanted to be in there, and I wanted to get everything out of it, and I wanted to learn, and I wanted to cook. And John would show up, and they would call attendance, and I would answer for him. Like John Simon, here. And then Neil Kleinberg, here. And I would cover for him. He'd always be late, and yet he was really brilliant. He was good in the kitchen, not as good as me, but he was much better at like business, design, concept, music, hipster. He was really on the cutting edge. We had this cutting edge restaurant, and so that was short-lived. And then years later, I just developed my craft and started working for others and working in hotels. I worked at the Plaza. I worked at, you know, Regine's, all these fancy French restaurants. I did a lot of cooking. And then just years later, I wanted, and I'm not even frontal lobe like conscious, I wanted to own my own place. Call my own shots, do my own thing, do my own food, whatever it is, simple stuff. Go back to do my childhood favorites and stuff. I didn't want to cook French or Italian or Asian or fusion or none of that shit. I just wanted to cook the food that I wanted to cook. And it so happens that being your own boss is phenomenal, and at the same time very stressful because you're responsible for so many other people. And even though I have a partner who's phenomenal, and Dee Dee is my wife, and we live together, we work together, we conceptualize together, we do things like that, my role is like the kitchen and the food and creating and recreating and tweaking and revisiting and all of that. So deep down inside, I guess I did have this desire to open a place, but I never thought in my 25-year-old self that I would be the owner of Clinton Street Baking Company. Not that it's a big thing, because there are other people in my generation that went on to do bigger and better things, or fancier restaurants, or more, you know, things like that.
There's always someone doing something.
Right.
But I just think that it has a name that is so residual to New York City. And I remember like in 2019, I tried to get in and I couldn't. And I was like, I was with a boyfriend at the time. He was like, we have to go here. And I was like, oh, we can't even get in. Like, what even is this place? And it's just funny that life kind of comes full
funny.
circle. Was your desire to have it be a brunch spot due to what you were saying earlier, that like you wanted to resort back to like the childlike food, or what? That's just what you wanted.
None of the above.
Ugh,
It's
I
happened.
hate being wrong.
I know, but it happened. It's like pure dumb luck. Do you think me working on all these fancy French places and working at high-end restaurants and doing catering for thousands and working at the water club and doing, banquets for thousands, that I wanted to be a pancake chef or a brunch chef? No. It basically kind of came organically. I started Clinton Street Baking Company to supply my original partner's spot on the Upper West Side. So I started baking all these recipes that I had in my back pocket for years. And then I said, we have this store, we're paying rent, we're here, we're doing wholesale, we're doing this, we're doing cookies and pound cakes and all kinds of shit. And I said, let me open for breakfast. I'm here, why not? And so we opened, and I pulled out my pancake recipe, and I started doing some things, and we started making pancakes, and then we did French toast, and then I said, let me come up with an egg dish, and said, okay, Spanish scramble has like all these great ingredients in it. Chorizo and caramelized onions and Monterey Jack, and, serve it with hash and toast. It'll be like the breakfast that I want to eat. And so that's the way the menu developed. And then before I started Clinton Street, I was the chef of Lundy's, which was a famous restaurant in Brooklyn. That was the
why the quotations?
Lundy's, because all the old Jews know it. It was an iconic, world-class seafood restaurant in Brooklyn that served 10,000 meals a day. It was insane. And when I was in culinary school, I said, this is something that I aspire to. This is something I said to myself. One of these days, I'm going to be the chef of Lundy's. And 20 years later, I get a call from some Italian guy that said, we're recreating Lundy's and we want to interview for the job. And I became the chef of Lundy's. And it was like an 800-seat gorilla monster restaurant in Brooklyn on 4 square blocks. And it was amazing food. They had the best raw bar you've ever seen. Oysters, clams, shrimp cocktail, lobster cocktail, crab, all of that. And then behind the scenes, the food was unbelievable. And they were famous for biscuits. And so I created the recipe when it reopened. And I brought those biscuits to Clinton Street, and now my email is greatbiscuits@gmail. So anyway, so that was like something that I aspired to do. And then I worked there at Lundy's for like 2.5 years, and then they fired me.
Why'd you get fired? Are you legally allowed to say?
Yeah, basically
Also, is it
told
still
the owner.
open?
Listen to this. One of Billy Joel's tour managers wanted to recreate Lundy's, and he opened it in Brooklyn in Red Hook 2 weeks ago.
Wait, I was just in Red Hook.
Well, it's by IKEA, all the way at the end of Red Hook.
You're kidding me.
No.
So is it still in the OG location?
No, it's in a different location, but so this guy, Mark Snyder, wanted to recreate the Lundy's name. So he bought all of the rights to it from the owner that hired me. Anyway, I got fired from Lundy's for telling the owner's wife to basically fuck off. I'm really busy. And she caught me in the middle of like, a full restaurant with like 500 dupes on the board. And it was insane. And I said something to her off color and in the heat of the moment.
Classic.
A couple of weeks later, they fired me. And I had been there 2.5 years. I developed all the recipes. I opened it with the GM, who I'm still friendly with. And after me, the place continued for like a year, and they went through 10 chefs in a year.
Wow.
Nobody could handle it. One guy had a nervous breakdown on the line. Another guy quit. Another guy tried to strangle someone. It was a very intense, high-pressure job. And it made me feel good that nobody could do it as well as I did when I went and I started it.
He probably said to his wife, like, come on, grow a pair. We could have just kept him.
He was one of these
One of these.
guys, from Staten Island, and he's like, nobody talks to my wife like this.
Right. Meanwhile, he probably is like awful to her.
Probably, but whatever. It's so silly, chefs.
Well, that led you
That led me to saying, fuck it, I'm out. I can't handle this high pressure restaurant. And I went to teach, and I got a job at Covenant House, which is for homeless and wayward kids in the West Village. And they wanted to open a cafe where they would train all these homeless runaways, troubled teens. And they wanted to open a cafe and then train them so they could have jobs in the workplace and rehabilitate themselves. So I took that job for 5 years. It was like a sweet job. It was like 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, no weekends, no holidays, nothing, good pay. I had a nice deal. I was divorced at the time, so I had a lot of time. And then it got old and boring and whatever. I needed more challenge. I needed more whatever. And that's when I met Dee Dee in the West Village. And then another cook called me from the Plaza Hotel and said, I want to sell you my restaurant on the Lower East Side. And I'm like, is this Tommy Kong from the Plaza? He said, yeah, I want to sell you my restaurant. And I'm like, Tommy, I haven't heard from you in like 12 years. So he said, come. And I took Dee Dee to Clinton Street. We were dating at the time. We weren't married. And Tommy Kong is in there with his sister and brother-in-law and whatever. And it was a horrible place. It was called Jovial Grill. I saw something in this place like, yeah, let me open a bake shop. Let me open something and let's do it. I opened it with this partner of mine, and he was a real dick, and he was a kind of alcoholic kind of guy, and he was out of control. So after like a year and a half, I said and we were doing okay. We were just selling coffee and muffins and scones at the door. It was tiny, the other part of Clinton Street. And I said to my first partner at Clinton Street, I said, listen, it's either you or me. I'm out of here, buy me out, or I'll buy you out. Or you buy me out, or I'll buy you out, but I can't work with you anymore.
Damn.
And he was like, fuck you. I'm like, I'm telling you, let's make a deal. Either I'll buy you out, how much you want, or you buy me out, and this is what I want. We came up with an agreement, and Dee Dee bought him out.
Savage.
Dee Dee's helped me in a lot of ways. I was putting like 50% into Clinton Street at the time. I was working my day job, and I was moonlighting at Clinton Street while we were starting the business.
Your day job at the time was still...
It was that Covenant House in the West Village.
Okay.
And so she just said something to me that stuck. You put 50% into something, you get 50% of the results. You put 100% into something, and you reap all the benefits.
Huh.
So I left Covenant House. I went to Clinton Street, worked full time, started developing the breakfast menu. Eventually, Dee Dee was doing all of the front of the house stuff, renovations, tweaking the menu. Then we decided to open for lunch. Then we got, the first week we opened for brunch, we did 12 brunches.
Oh my gosh.
The next month we were up to like 40. Then I was with one guy in the kitchen. Then I said to him, I turned to Carlos on the right of me, which Carlos still works with us. I said, Carlos, you ever think we could do 100 brunches here? He said, I don't know, chef, it's a lot. It's a small kitchen, this and that. I'm like, then we did 100. Then it just got out of control. We started getting known for our breakfast, for the pancakes, for brunch, for biscuits, for our coffee, for all of that. And then it just started to build, and we opened for dinner. And then years later, we expanded and opened to the corner, which was like my baby. And Dee Dee and I had a rough fight, but she basically designed it, how it should look, what it should look like, how it should feel. And it just happened organically, but it took 10 years.
You opened in 2001.
Right.
When did you actually feel like this is going to stick?
Probably 2006.
So 5 years.
2007.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
been 24 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know. It's really, people that I know, friends or chef friends, they say, hey, what's up, pancakes, something like that. I'm like, fuck you. I can cook more than pancakes. And we do a lot of catering. We do high-end stuff. We do low-end stuff. We do catering. Now from Clinton Street, you can get any of our stuff, delivered. You can do a high-end event. We'll customize some things for you, but it's mainly our brunch, our breakfast, our baked goods, our stuff like that. And I'm not even a baker by trade. Mm-hmm. I'm just more of like an eater. Like I love, I love a cheese dish. I love toast. I love a tuna fish sandwich. I love to eat the kind of normal things that I grew up on,
Mm-hmm.
elevated though.
Right.
Elevated to something delicious made from scratch.
Them calling you pancakes is like so like punitive compared to everything else that you've done. I would assume that it's a little endearing.
Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but it wasn't like I was a kid and went to IHOP and said, I'm going to make my own pancake restaurant.
You stand up on the table at IHOP. Something's got to
Would
change.
never go to IHOP. It was too goyim for my family.
We never went to IHOP either.
Right?
They would
went
never.
to the diner in Jersey.
We're not going to IHOP. My grandparents took us to IHOP one time. My mom was pissed.
Yeah.
She was like, they took you where? She doesn't talk like that, but that's how I imitate her.
I've heard your mom talk.
Yeah, great voice, great voice.
Yes.
This is something that you said earlier stuck with me where you were saying that there were like 10 different chefs at Lundy's and some of them couldn't handle being on the line. What was the most stressed out you've been on the line, as you're calling it? Like I would throw up. Like I was a hostess one time and I would just leave. I'd be like, this is too much for me. People are screaming at me. But you're behind the scenes and I'm sure you come out knowing you and you're like, hey, I'm sorry about XYZ. I could just imagine you taking it to heart in a good way.
Chefs are like a rare breed. They're like a little, they're obsessive, compulsive, particular, OCD, it's like that whole thing. And I still have chef dreams where I'm behind the line and I can't get the food out. And I'm like looking at the dupes and I'm deciphering it and then can't take one table at a time and want to try to clear the board at once. And I have dreams like that, or nightmares, or restaurant dreams where I'll drop something or someone in the middle of service, cuts themselves and then there's one person short and you can't get the food out. It's like I still have dreams like that. Not often, but I don't think it'll ever go away. It's kind of like the stuff I thrive on and makes me crazy.
Because it's your face at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like your last jobs when you were just the chef, if something went wrong, it's not like you have money and, other assets poured into these places that you're working. But like,
Right.
This is your baby now, but you're also the chef behind it. So like, it's all interconnected. I would imagine it is stressful, but it's sounding like you thrive off of that.
I always, from when I was a teenager in culinary school and working in New York restaurants, I always took an owner's mentality. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, was the key to my success is that I always if I saw like a line cook or a prep cook or someone doing something wrong and I was just like a sous chef or whatever, I would always say, hey, don't throw that shit away. You're wasting. Or, or, hey, that's not the way the chef taught us to do it. Or, I'll go into like pastry and say, hey, how do you make that? Or I want to learn how to do that. So I always took that like initiative and that owner's mentality where I cared about everything. And I still do. The little things, the details, the small things. I walk around the restaurant, if I see, like a banana peel, someone prepping, I'm like, I'll tap someone and I'll say, hey, could you pick that up, please?
Right. It's your kitchen.
Yeah.
Have respect.
Or, can you wipe that counter down? Or would you mind, these days you have to be very careful with employees and people and how you say things and what you say and whatever. But I also have that philosophy is like lead by example. Many times I'll pick up that banana peel. Many times I'll change the toilet paper in the bathroom. Many times I'll scrub my hands with soap and water and thinking, I'm making sure everyone else is. You know what I mean? It's like that. It comes down to so many little details, but the basics of how we were taught to live and to eat and manners and consideration and all of that.
Yeah.
It's like a pride,
Right. Well, you're leading by example, which I think is the best way to lead. When I've had bosses who do what you do and are doing things the way that they want me to be doing it, makes it so much easier. Why should I have to do this if you're going to do it this way?
Correct.
It's like we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
We're all on the same team.
And you want to, and as an employee or as an employer, you want, I could tell when I give an instruction or I give a feedback to someone that they enjoy it, that they like it, that they want it, that they need it. And I need it too sometimes, I need, after like 50 years cooking in the business and stuff, I need like someone to tell me that was unbelievably delicious or that was really great. I can't believe how you guys do that.
Right.
I like that. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like keep doing what I'm doing.
It doesn't get old.
No, never gets old.
I want to know how you met Dee Dee, because you just said the West Village, but was it the Stonewall Inn? Was it at, where was it?
Funny, good story. Of course, if she were saying it, she would tell it correctly, and I can't speak anymore, but I was working at this place in the West Village, and it was like a freezing cold December night, 2000. It was about to turn to be 2001. And I was walking to the subway to go home uptown. I lived in Washington Heights. And I stopped at a Salt and Battery. Do you know that place on Greenwich Avenue?
No.
It was a fish and chip shop run by an English couple.
It's still open, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the next door is the tea place, Tea and Sympathy.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. So I walk into a Salt and Battery, and I order a fish and chips to go, and I had my hood on and my Parker on and whatever. And in walks Dee Dee, in like her sweats and pajamas and a coat on. And I didn't really even look at her, see her, whatever. She lived directly across the street, and she was getting the same thing to eat. And I turned to her and I made a joke about Benny Hill. Do you know Benny Hill?
No.
He's an English dirty old man that had a TV show. It was kind of like a campy, Laugh-In, Rowan and Martin thing, but English. And he was like a dirty old man. He had all these young girls in short skirts and all his skits. And I walk into the fish and chip shop, and the owner and his wife there, who I knew the wife, Nikki, and a very handsome model-like husband with a thick English accent. I turned to Dee Dee after ordering my fish and chips, and I'm like, this is like a Benny Hill episode, this place. And she laughed, didn't think of anything. I walked out, she walked out, got her fish and chips, and she recognized me from the neighborhood because she used to be friends with people from the video store across the street from the place I worked. And she said, this guy, he's the chef of this place. And then her friend, Michael, said, oh, that's Neil Kleinberg. He's the chef. He's great. He's nice. And Dee Dee said, is he straight? Because we're in the West Village. And he said, yeah, he's straight, but he's divorced and has 2 kids. And she said, oh, I don't care, whatever. And anyway, I never remembered Dee Dee. And Michael, the guy that she asked that question to, set us up. And I was having a Christmas party at the bar next door. And Michael said, do you remember that girl you met at the fish and chip shop? And I said, yeah, remember her. Because I was looking to date or find someone or whatever. It had been 8 years already. I'd been divorced and dated and girlfriends and this and back and forth. So we met at the Christmas party at Fiddlesticks with the Irish bar next to it.
Of course.
And Michael says, Neil, this is Dee Dee. And I looked at her and she said, you remember me? And I'm like, of course. I didn't remember her. But she was pretty, really pretty, and very young. And I was young too. I was 40 or 42 or whatever. But she was really young, like 29, you know. And I was like, wow, she's really pretty. And she's got a nice body. And I'm like, huh. And that night, we didn't stop talking.
Oh.
And really have very, very, we've hardly been separated for 24 years. But now we're looking to separate a little bit. No, and that was it. And from then on, like, we clicked and we were together and our lives started.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah. We met in a fish and chip shop. She was like, she had her period and she was feeling very like, I need fried food.
Yeah.
And I just need fried food all the time.
You didn't even have your period, and you
and I needed like, you know, crispy fried fish with tartar sauce and French fries.
That's such a good freaking story. I feel like everyone like above the age of 50 just has such a good how we met story in New York.
I think it's a really good story. And Dee Dee wrote it when she wrote the cookbook for Clinton Street. We have a cookbook.
Oh, I gotta get that.
Yeah, but Brunch and Beyond. And it's in every chapter. Dee Dee is a great writer, and that's her real career. She's a writer. And literally when I read like the drafts and then it came out and I would like cry. I would read the first chapter of the book and it was really good. She tells the stories better than I do.
Yeah, but you can feel like I can feel the like the heart in it. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And she talks about, you know, growing up in Brooklyn and I was raised by her great joke is I was raised by wolves. In Brooklyn, in a household where my parents really didn't care about any of the kids, and no one was. We were like, oh, out in the streets in the middle of the night, and no curfews, and no rules, and no manners, and no regulations. We were basically a wolf pack.
Yeah, but.
And I love that. I don't feel bad about that. I like that.
You shouldn't.
And she's right. And then, of course, she was raised totally different. In a totally different kind of household.
Opposites attract.
Yes.
But you guys aren't that opposite because you both were getting fish and chips.
Totally.
So that makes sense.
We met before we got married. We met 10 months later. We were married.
Damn.
And
you knew.
We ate a lot together.
A lot of fish and chips.
We got chubby that first year.
Yeah. How do you not get so fat like working at a bakery? And that's not me being fat phobic. That's just me wondering.
I don't eat a lot during the day at work. I don't like
Working.
lunch on things. I'll have like an egg sandwich or I'll have some protein and eggs and grilled chicken sandwich. I'll just whatever. And then I won't eat. And then like I'll get home at night and I'm like starved.
Right.
And that's how, you know.
Something funny you said when we walked in, you were like, hey, how long is this going to be? Just got some things in the oven. Like, that's just so funny. Like, you just live this life. But I want to, because we're nearing the end, unfortunately. Okay. But I want
We haven't even scratched the surface.
I know, Neil. That's why, like, you'll come on. We'll do
a two-part.
We'll do a three-parter.
Yeah.
You could be what's the word I'm looking for?
Recurring guest.
I was looking for recovering. You're going to need to recover after this. What is your not that deep? What is not that deep? Did you prepare one?
Absolutely not.
Neil!
What? I forgot.
I thought I asked
I'm
you.
ADD. I'm over the hill.
Well, I feel like we could help you get to one just by talking.
Not that deep.
Like, do you understand what I'm asking, though? Like, what is something that maybe even happens in your day-to-day that can feel like a big deal, but then you move past it and you think of the bigger picture and recognize that it's not that deep?
It's basically discovering myself, who I am at 66, and I know myself pretty well, and I need to do certain things to prepare myself to go into my restaurant, business, life. So, like, I know myself, it's not that deep. I know I need to get in the pool and swim laps. I know it takes me like 2 hours to warm up to the day. So I know I need to get up a little earlier. Because if I get up at 9, then at 11, the whole like day is shot and it's whatever. So it's not that deep. It's easy for me to know who I am and what. Dee Dee knows I don't like to talk a lot in the morning.
That's shocking.
I'm like, shut the fuck up. I need to go out, get dressed quiet, go get a coffee, hit the gym or hit the pool, look at my emails and warm up to the day. And then by the time that 2-hour thing, I feel so much better and I'm ready to tackle anything.
There's like a lag. That makes so much sense because I feel like sometimes it's hard to get up in the morning, but then once you're up, there's no turning back.
It's easier as you get older to get up in the morning. I love getting up. Like if we have a catering job that's a 7 a.m. pickup, I'll be at the restaurant at 5 a.m. I'll get up at 4:30. I'll sleep in the other room, in the guest room, because I don't want to wake up Dee Dee, and then I don't want to fringe on her nighttime routine. And I like it. I like getting up in the dark and starting it all and turning the grills on and, turning the pancake griddle on and getting things set. Because 7 o'clock, it happens quick, 2 hours, boom, and it's gone.
Do you see yourself doing this for like the rest of your life? Do you see yourself opening more restaurants? What does the future look like for you? And if you don't know, that's okay.
I always say that I've got like 10 good years left in me to like work the way I'm working. Mm-hmm. I don't ever think of like retiring or maybe doing something different. I can't. I'm like that. I have certain good talents, but I'm not a good singer. I couldn't do stand-up like you. I don't have any of those skills developed where I'm not into real estate. Like all of a sudden I want to sell property. Maybe we'll open a couple of things down the road, but I always say to myself, like, I got 10 good physical years left in me that I can do a lot of good shit.
Yeah, but you have so what, you can't sell real estate? You could learn real estate.
But I don't want to. You know what I mean? I wish I had another.
People can't learn what you do. How to manage, how to cook, how to entertain, how to provide, all these different things that it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do? You're doing a lot.
Yeah, I don't realize it. I don't give myself credit for that. And I tell my kids instant success takes 20 years.
Yeah. I was going to actually ask what your advice is for 20-something. I love asking
I
for
have
advice.
an 18-year-old daughter, and I'm really proud of her and the way she's turning out and the way she is. I think the most important thing is to have a good work ethic. I don't really care what you do or what you love to do, but if you have a good work ethic, everything else comes. You're working hard at your day job and you're doing other things in the evening, and you have your social life and your friends, and you're doing a lot and you're working. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And my daughter Jade has that, and my older daughter Michelle has that, and my son Alex has that to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's a boy for you.
Yeah, he likes to like.
Is he single?
No, he's married with a kid and another one on the way.
Okay.
And he's all the way out in Mendocino, California.
Okay, I just thought it was interesting. Like, you've never brought up your son, so I figured if you had like a 30-year-old single son, you would have.
38.
Yeah, you would have already set me up.
Totally.
Yeah, because you're scouting, right?
Yeah, I talk about Alex all the time, my son. I just don't want to over talk about him.
No, don't.
No, but I'm telling you, he's a guy. He's a surfer and a skateboarder and he loves business and he's creative and he's artistic. I don't think his work ethic is that good. I'll give you a perfect example. Clinton Street in the early days, he had winter break in junior high school, and I brought him into the restaurant and I said, we're making pesto. We need to make a lot of pesto for this fucking big pasta dish tomorrow, whatever. And I brought him downstairs. I sat him on the stool. I said, you need to clean 2 cases of basil. Take the leaves off the stem, throw the stem in the garbage, put the leaves in water, wash them. And I came down like a half hour later. I was working on the line at Clinton Street. And he was sleeping. But
That's funny. That's funny.
I know. And we all love Alex to death. But it's like, hey, Alex. You know what I mean?
It's like Evan.
Yeah. No. He's much cooler than Evan. Evan is like, hey, Evan.
You literally kill me. I really don't think you're trying to be funny most of the time, but I want to wrap things up, but I just want to thank you so much for your friendship over these last couple of months. I think it was such a like a kismet coming together at the Yankees game, but you've been someone who you've been so supportive of my podcast and my family, and I just I'm very, very lucky to know you, and I thank you so much.
Wow, I feel the same way. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you do your performance and your thing. That takes a lot of nerve to be like a stand-up, and I listen to a lot of things like that. And do it if you love to do it. Don't do it, whatever. And you'll find your path. But the same way, it's nice to meet you and all your friends and
They love you.
all the people you brought to Clinton Street. And then you got to bring your dad and your mom.
I have to bring them.
And your sister.
Yes, you really, you and my dad just have such similar Jewish dad energy where, I really think, if he was not in my life, you would be the reason why the reason I would be friends with you is because I have daddy issues. Where I would be I'm just searching. I'm searching for something, but I have such a good relationship with him, yet I still am good friends with you. So,
yeah.
Just something to ponder on.
No, that's good. That's cool. When I listened to the podcast with you and your dad, he struck a lot of nerves with me, and it was really nice and sweet.
Yeah, you called me. Yeah, that's I met you once, and you give me a call, and you're like, Dana. I'm like, is something wrong? No, I listened to your podcast. It was fantastic. And I'm like, thanks, Neil from Yankees game.
I had right.
I love that, and I also wanted to say when you came to my stand-up show. But I saw you in the back, and there were people talking in the back, and I just saw you. I was on stage, and I look behind. Sorry, I see you look behind you, and death stare the people behind. Why the fuck are you talking? Dana's on stage. It was just so funny and so something that my dad would have done.
Well, it's like a big brother or a big sister or someone you want to protect or you want to let them do their thing. The same way if my daughter was on stage singing and some asshole started talking in the middle of her performance, I'd be like, hey, shut the fuck up.
I know. I appreciated it. I'm so excited for our goodies. Guys, you can't see it. Also, I'm really hoping, guys, we're wearing merch today. I had Neil bring it. Do you want it back?
No, that's yours.
Are you serious?
Wash it. It'll shrink a little and you'll love it.
I love a good crop top.
And then the back of it says, made with love and butter.
I can't see it. I have my scoliosis. I can't turn all the way.
All right, you'll take it off and you'll see the back.
You guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Not That Deep. Remember, you can listen Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, our first YouTube video. This